Hello, hi everybody, here with the mobile food booth. We are here with Jeff. And Jeff, you want to kind of tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Well, my name is Jeff Thornberry, and in 1981 I took a summer job working at the Los Angeles County Fair. Little did I know that would begin a 42-year-long career making my living working at fairs and temporary events. I started out first as a concessionaire making Mackinac Island fudge as an employee of that company. I went on about 30 years ago, my wife and I built our own commercial exhibits business selling gadgets and neat stuff at fairs and expos around the country. About October of last year, my wife and I sold our business. We're now technically retired, so I spend my time walking around traveling around the fair industry, sharing some of my knowledge and experience. One of the things I speak about is the importance of understanding the commercial exhibitor's business model. And this is both for fairs and commercial exhibitors themselves. So we spend a lot of energy in this industry talking about spaces. Exhibitors talk about their space. Fair management, they have entire space sales departments, space sales managers, all intent on administrating the allocation of space. But what I like to tell people is that space is not the fair's product. They are not selling space to exhibitors. You see, space is just the way we divvy up, price, and allocate access to potential buyers. It is buyers that commercial exhibitors are paying to gain access to. And that's very important because as an industry, we spend a lot of energy trying to manage space and very little energy or resources trying to drive traffic in front of those spaces. So that's what I try to do, is share with people. So when you take that into consideration, the fair's commercial exhibits business model is that they sell access to buyers. That's what commercial exhibitors buy, and in turn fairs get income in the form of rents and fees. But it doesn't stop just there. There's some other important dividends that we need to be mindful of. Commercial exhibitors help drive length of stay. So length of stay can be envisioned as, think about a fairgoer coming to the fair for a 2.5-hour visit. We know that if they're at the fair for 2.5 hours, they're going to buy a meal, probably a couple of beverages, maybe even a treat or a dessert, right? If we can convince that same fairgoer to stay on the property for 4 or 5 hours, we now know that they're going to buy 2 meals, probably multiple beverages, probably also a treat and the dessert. So it's this increase in length of stay that helps drive per capita spending all across the property, not just on food and beverage, but also on things like carnival rides and games and novelties, which are important because the fair gets a percentage of the gross off of those endeavors, but it also helps to drive additional sales on commercial exhibits. So if you think about it, a sit-down pot and pan presentation, that can run 40 minutes in duration. Blender demonstration where they hand out the little frozen fruit juice samples, that presentation goes 22 to 25 minutes. Just getting fitted for a tow ring can run over 20 minutes with customer service and upselling. So those 3 stops alone can contribute to almost an hour and a half of a guest visit. And the point isn't whether a fair has those 3 exhibitors. The point is that the cumulative impact of dozens or hundreds of commercial exhibitors simply selling their wares keeps people on the property, helping drive per capita spending all across the entire fairgrounds. You see, that's an important part of the fair enterprise.
Fantastic, yeah. And then one more thing, because Jeff has amazing knowledge. It's been just pleasure, like I said, talking to you and everything. And so I think it's really great. And some of the kind of the visuals that we really kind of focus on, especially on the smaller events, and not even at the state fairs, you still see some of the issues. But how, for people, what would you kind of recommend? If you're kind of starting out, let's say you want to get into the commercial exhibitors, or even if you're like a small, like a food vendor, what would you kind of say? What would be kind of really important, with the visuals and that kind of to impact? Would you kind of give any some suggestions to newer potential kind of?
Well, sure. First thing, as you're designing your display, you have to realize whether it's your food can stand, you're in a very, very noisy environment. I mean, there's visual noise, and you're trying to compete for attention. You're trying to get fairgoers to look at your product and assess whether or not that's something they want to consume. So it's important to be able to reach through all of that noise. And in order to do so, you have to know exactly where they're standing at the moment when they first look at you. And what surprises a lot of exhibitors and concessionaires is that it is not right in front of your booth or your stand. It's typically down the aisle, maybe 20 feet, maybe 30 feet down the row. You see, fairgoers walk through the buildings or through the fairgrounds spinning their head left to right. And they'll look at an object for 3 seconds, they'll analyze whether it is worth their attention. Then they'll spin their head to the right for about 3 seconds, and they'll walk through the fair scanning their horizon, spending about 3 seconds on an individual booth, an individual offering, or an individual concession stand. And when they see something that appeals to them, they'll zero in on it. But that location, that spot when they first see your display or your food stand, is not standing right out front. It's down the way. It's typically in front of your neighbor's booth or stand. So that means you need to focus a certain amount of your marketing and your presentation to that location, because you're going to have just 3 seconds to make that impression. So think about that. Every time you come to your stand, you walk back from the restroom, or you come back from the stock truck, or whatever it may be, follow fairgoers, watch the back of their heads, watch at that moment that they see your stand for the first time, and make a note of where they're standing. Walk over there, stand in that spot, and study your presentation. How does it compete with all that other visual noise around you? Because you think you'll learn something. You probably can do a better job of focusing your message to that location.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it. What we're going to do, guys, I'm going to put a link here below that you can contact with Jeff's information. And like I said, he's fantastic, so knowledgeable. Like I said, it's great. So like I said, these kind of events are really kind of helpful. I would really encourage to more people to come attend the NICA conference, or any kind of events, or even if you have locally at your local fair, or they have the different regions. I would really highly recommend that and to do that. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Also, NICA has a conference in Las Vegas on November 3rd through 6th. Highly recommend you go. We'll have these types of presentations. If you're in the concessions business, you really want to get there.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, see you next time.
Thank you.